So this is what I've learned from the week 1 to 4 of finals in meteorology. During week 1, we had tackled about the anticyclones and other pressure systems. Anticyclone. So what is an anticyclone? Also known as high pressure area, a weather system with high atmospheric pressure at its center, around which the air slowly circulates in a clockwise northern hemisphere or counterclockwise southern hemisphere direction. Anticyclones are associated with calm, fine weather in summer and dry, cold and sometimes foggy weather in the winter. Calm settled weather is usually synonymous with anticyclones in temperate latitudes. Next is ridge. A ridge is an elongated region of relatively high pressure, the opposite of trough. In hydrologic terms, a line or wall of broken ice formed up by pressure may be fresh or weathered. Col, also called saddle point or neutral point. Meteorology, the point of intersection of a trough and a ridge in the pressure pattern of the weather map. It is the point of relatively lowest pressure between two highs and the point of relatively highest pressure between two lows. Next is trough. A trough is an elongated region of relatively low atmospheric pressure with a closed isobaric contour and would define it as a low pressure area. Since low pressure implies a low height on a pressure surface, troughs and ridges refer to features in an identical sense as those on a topographic map. A trough is a result of movements of the air in the atmosphere. In the regions where there is upward movement near the ground and divergence at altitude, there is a loss of mass. The pressure becomes lower at this point. So during week 2, we tackled about the recording and reporting observations and used the ship's code and decode book to interpret a ship's full report. The observations to be formatted according to WMO code FM 13XI ship. This code form is used for observations from ships and fixed sea stations. Details of the code and groups required to be reported for supplementary ships are given in the ship's code and decode book. Here are the codes and specific meaning. The efficient and timely movement of meteorological information is a fundamental requirement of modern technology. Observes record information about the environment and provide it to data processing centers so that forecast guidance products may be produced. Measuring and recording the weather is essential for many reasons. 1. To accumulate an accurately record of the past. To provide a picture of what's happening now and warning of extreme events, and to give the right starting point to predicting the future. In other words, a weather forecast. Mariners use the code and decode book to interpret ship's full report. Accurate. Next is during week 3, we tackled about the weather forecasting and how weather observations at the ship can be used to improve forecast and derived from synoptic and prognostic charts and evaluate the weather forecast information received. The first role in forecasting at sea is that the weather will continue much the same unless you've passed close to or through a front or a low. There are, however, other methods of forecasting of shorter or longer duration that seafarers can use in practice. These are several types of weather message broadcast by radio in most parts of the world. Weather weather warnings, forecast messages, analysis and prognosis messages, synoptic messages. They add weather maps via record facsimile received on the board and Inmarsat, and also those prepared to ship based on direction observation made by seafarers. Maritime weather forecasts include four types of severe weather warnings: the specific standards of the winds and wavelength height, small craft warning, gale warning, storm warning, hurricane force warning. A weather map displays various meteorological features across a particular area at a particular point in time, and has various symbols which all have specific meanings. Analysis maps are based on weather observations from the patterns of highs and lows as well as the location of weather fronts are drawn. Much of the accuracy of the chart depends on the skill of the meteorologist or analyst who draws the pattern based on his interpretation of the observation. Prognosis charts are maps which displays what the weather are expected to be like at a future time, in other words, a forecast map. On board, seafarers have available a number of documents and maps able to provide meteorological information required for practicing a safe navigation. Realizing some proper correlation between data obtained from direction observations or from real data analysis can get an overview into the future evolution of weather conditions, and they can establish a convenient route accordingly. It is therefore important to know what resources are available to inform whether the weather and the way in which they can operate conveniently. During week 4, last but not the least, we tackled about the tropical cyclone naming institutions and determined the different international name of the typhoon and hurricanes from local names. Tropical cyclones and subtropical cyclones are named by various warning centers to provide ease of communication between forecasters and the general public regarding forecasts, watches, and warnings. Before the formal start of naming, tropical cyclones were named after places, objects, or saints' feast days on which they occurred. The credit of the first usage of personal names for weather systems is generally given to the Queensland Government meteorologist Clement Rage, who named systems between 1887 and 1907. Names are generally assigned in order from predetermined lists once they produce 1, 3, or 10-minute sustained wind speed of more than 65 kilometers or 40 miles per hour. Since 1963, Pag-asa has independently operated its own naming scheme for tropical cyclones that occur within its own self-defined Philippine area of responsibility. The names are taken from 4 different lists of 25 names and are assigned when a system moves into or develops into a tropical depression within Pag-asa's jurisdiction. And that's all. Thank you.